Horizon Honno-ji reaction. This is Warring States Japan, Sengoku Jidai, the death of Oda Nobunaga. What? He's gonna die in this episode? Extra history part 4 by the channel, extra credits. Yeah, this series has been awesome so far. Only thing I had issue with is just remembering the names. So, before I started this reaction, I made sure to go back and just memorize the names of the, other two guys who's with the Oda. So basically, in the last part, how, Oda attacked that clan, and in that, Tokugawa Ieyasu was with him. And I confused him with, that Toyotomi Hideyasu, right? The saddle bearer or whatever, who became this great strategic guy who defeated a clan like it's nothing, by just, at night stealthily going there and taking them out, turning their allies against them. I mistaken Tokugawa for him, but Tokugawa is that kid in the first part who was, I guess, abducted and then became the clan leader and, joined Oda in the end. So, Tokugawa and Oda attacked, the clan in the last part, and Tokugawa was really powerful. It's the kid who was, captured. Toyotomi is the guy who was basically saddle bearer or whatever that guy was. So I guess now I'm going to remember those names. So, in the last part, Oda basically went ruthless, burned down the monastery because it was impossible to, I guess, siege it. But then, anybody who's running away, kids, women, everything, he just ordered people to slaughter them. That's just dark turn right there. I mean, he could have left kids and women alone, but he took a dark turn there. I guess that's going to be the end of him in here. Maybe his allies are going to turn against him because what he did, I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be a fun video. Remember, people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the reaction. There's a link in the description. Check out the cards will play. Check out the end cards. And yeah, let's watch this one.
When we last left off, it was 1571. Nobunaga spent the rest of the year crushing yet more Buddhist monks and finally putting an end to the Azai and the Asakura. But even though things are starting to look better for the Oda, things are about to get grim for the Tokugawa. Takeda Shingen, egged on by the powerless shogun Ashikaga Yoshiaki, decides it's time for him to take Kyoto by marching through Mikawa, Tokugawa Ieyasu's home province. Now, Takeda Shingen is one of the legends of the Sengoku period, and somebody I hope we get to come back to in a future series and spend some more time on.
Wait a minute. Takeda Shingen is the neighbor of the, one of the Oda's, territory. So if he's so famous and so feared, then Oda feared, like, even if I, march to Kyoto, what if this guy suddenly takes my own, home place or whatever?
He is no minor daimyo. He is serious business. He's literally the guy who invented the cavalry charge for feudal Japan, and here he's gonna use that cavalry to smash Tokugawa Ieyasu. Tokugawa hastily assembles some of the troops in his home province to oppose the Takeda forces, which honestly weren't even coming for him, but rather for making a stab at Kyoto behind him. Tokugawa sets his troops up on an open plain so his arquebusiers can gun down the Takeda. But an open plain is also pretty good terrain for a cavalry charge, and the famous Takeda cavalry horses smash into their line. The Tokugawa forces collapse. The army disintegrates into rabble, fleeing any way they can. Now get this, Ieyasu makes it back to his castle with only 5 men. Yeah, 5. He is a goner. Nobody can hold a castle with 5 people. It is ridiculous to even consider it. But remember how I once said Tokugawa has this almost preternatural knack for surviving things nobody should? Well, buckle up.
Yeah, I mean, he did, right? He was supposed to die as a kid when he was captured. But because his father, anybody just said, like, screw it, kill him. It's going to strengthen my alliance. Apparently that saved him. And then he became the clan leader, basically. But why is Oda's not going there for his defense, right? They're allied.
Instead of writing his death poem and committing seppuku like any other daimyo would in his place, he had one of his followers light all of the braziers along the castle wall and throw open the gates. Then that same warrior began to beat a great drum. The Takeda didn't know what to do. They suspected some sort of trap, so they hesitated. Then, in the middle of the night, Tokugawa deployed his secret weapon, Hattori Hanzo, the famous ninja warrior. Hattori Hanzo led a band of ninjas to sow chaos amongst the Takeda vanguard, and they did. This was the last straw. With such a bold attack on their leading troops, the Takeda became convinced that Tokugawa Ieyasu must have a ton of men inside this castle, and it was time to turn back. And so, like that, the Takeda retreated, and
What is this? Is this some kind of a Hollywood movie? Ninjas kicked ass and made an army run away. When, basically this guy only had 5 people. Where did he find ninjas suddenly? He just had 5 people. He just, he just knew the ninja and he's just like, I need your help. Is that it? That is just badass. This just shows that, ninjas were really badass at that time, right? That is ridiculous.
Tokugawa successfully kept his castle and his life with only 5 men to protect it. Of course, the Takeda retreat was also motivated by the fear that if they stayed away from their home province for too long, their great rival Uesugi Kenshin would sweep into Takeda lands and to take over the place. But man, it still takes some guts to throw your castle gate open when you've only got 5 people inside to defend it. That said, I want to pause for a moment and talk about something that always strikes me.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, that was some badass thing, right? Around this time, people were, clans were dying left and right, people were dying left and right, basically. Tokugawa basically just saw Oda and his ruthlessness while he, burned out that monastery. It was just bloodshed everywhere. Around this time, him having balls like that, man, fuck that. And knowing his opponent is really, revered and, a dangerous guy, he just like, screw that, just open the castle, start beating the drum, and send the ninjas to attack. It really, created a psychological warfare that basically made them run away. That is just awesome. But that could have easily backfired. That could have made them easier to kill all of them. But in the end, there were just 5 people there with some ninjas. So yeah, it would have been easy either way. So I guess it was a Hail Mary attempt.
Me is funny every time I read about the history of this period. We have this great myth of samurai honor, and on a lot of levels, especially for the lower retainers, it might be true, but so far as I can tell, the samurai in this story are all backstabbing, betraying, and assassinating each other all the time. Now consider the ninja, the actual sneaky backstabbing assassins. It makes absolutely no sense for them not to betray Tokugawa when he is down to their last 5 men, and yet they didn't, because they were absolutely loyal and true. This is gonna come up again later. Basically, the only totally trustworthy people in Sengoku Japan are ninja. Alright, so back to the story.
Hold up there, ninjas are not backstabbing assholes. I mean, their tactics are stealthy, so they backstab in that way. But they don't backstab the people who basically hire them or something. They do have honor, right? I mean, nobody thinks of ninjas as just backstabbing criminal type of people. I mean, they have this stealthy approach. They're dangerous that way. They are like a shadow. But, they don't stab their own people who hired them or whatever, or who they, pledge the loyalty to. And as far as samurai, warriors are warriors. I mean, honorable at certain extent. Maybe in certain situations where they're defeated, they will realize the defeat and do the honorable thing or something like that. In that sense, obviously Hollywood exaggerate bits, but in the end, they are, basically just soldiers. And as far as backstabbing, those are the clans, right? They're not fighting inside their own clans. Nobody's trying to topple the leader of their own clans. So, in a way, they are not backstabbers either. The clans are backstabbing each other, sure. But, honor goes at, only a certain level. Otherwise, all humans are the same in the whole world. I mean, clan warfare, this is not new. This is not just Japan's thing. It just happens everywhere. But, in certain situations, they might do honorable things. I don't know. There's truth to everything. It's not just Hollywood created thing, I guess.
In 1573, Takeda Shingen comes barreling back into Mikawa, determined this time to take out Tokugawa on his way to Kyoto. The Tokugawa forces are tied up elsewhere. This could be disaster for Ieyasu. But again, his famous luck holds. At a minor castle siege, Takeda Shingen is shot by a sniper and dies. He is succeeded by his much less capable son, Takeda Katsuyori. When he
Alright, extra credits just hyped that guy up like he's so badass. So far I've seen that he's not that badass, right? Maybe there is some stories of him that makes him really badass, but it's not this one. I mean, he just wanted to, pass by, this territory all the way to Kyoto. And he's like, this is just going to be nuisance at best. And yet he can't even pass that territory. And if anything, he died there. Especially when the opposing enemy does not even have that much of number.
Receives an offer from one of Ieyasu's retainers to betray the Tokugawa capital and throw open the gates, Katsuyori once again leads the Takeda into Mikawa. The plot is discovered, the traitor executed, and the plan foiled, but Takeda Katsuyori decides he can't go home empty-handed, so he decides to attack the small castle of Nagashino. Here, though, he's met with stiff resistance. The castle itself rests on the intersection between two rivers, and so can only be attacked from one side, mitigating the massive advantage in numbers that the Takeda have. Nonetheless, the garrison is slowly driven back from the outer works, to the wall, to the keep itself. And this is when one of the great legends of the Sengoku period occurs. A man named Tsunemon volunteers to sneak through the enemy lines and come back with relief for the fort. Late at night, he dives off the wall of the keep, Assassin's Creed style, into the river. The river itself is strung with ropes with bells to alert the enemy army if anybody's trying to creep across, and yet he makes it undetected to the other side. He runs all night and lights a great bonfire on one of the nearby hills to let his besieged fellows know he made it. He makes his way to Tokugawa, who's already encamped with Oda Nobunaga, and tells them how dire the situation at Nagashino is. Immediately, they ride off, the army making good time, but Tsunemon knows the garrison can only hold out for 5 more days at most, so he offers to ride ahead and sneak back into the fortress to tell the troops. But this time, the Takeda have switched the position of all of their tripwires and alarms, and Tsunemon is captured. He is dragged in front of Takeda Katsuyori, who makes him an offer. He tells Tsunemon that he'll spare his life if he'll shout to the defenders that no help is coming. Tsunemon agrees, so the next day they raise him up on a crucifix in front of the castle. Tsunemon takes a deep breath. Everything is silent. Tsunemon shouts that Tokugawa's on his way, hold firm, and then he's stabbed with dozens of spears and dies. But the garrison does hold out, and
That is just effed up story, man. That guy was awesome, right? He just, went all the Assassin's Creed and sneak out of things. There are literally army about to siege the palace or fort or whatever. He goes all the way to Oda and, ask him for help. He comes back. He gets captured. Obviously, this is real life. It's not some video game or movie. But then he's honorable to the last, right? Damn, that is awesome.
Tokugawa and Nobunaga arrive with their army. Katsuyori wheels the majority of his forces to face them. The fight is completely uneven. Katsuyori is outnumbered at least 2-1, but he still has that incredible Takeda cavalry that his father built up over the years, and he is willing to take a gamble. The Takeda cavalry come thundering down on the combined Oda-Tokugawa forces, but they've learned a few tricks since the last time they met the Takeda in battle. They've hastily thrown up a bamboo palisade, a loose fence to blunt the enemy charge. Behind it, they place 3,000 arquebusiers firing in volleys. The Takeda horses are slowed as they cross the river. Waves and waves of...
Cavalry works, sure, right? But how does cavalry works against guns? Cavalry has that place, obviously. We've seen during the Napoleonic War and everywhere how they are just powerhouse. But if you have guns, first of all, you announce your presence when you charge. Enemy can see you from the distance. If enemies has guns, they can take you down, which happened here. So, when I first heard cavalry charge, maybe this is going to be game changer. But I forgot that, around this Civil War, there were guns here too. So there you go.
Of shot pour down on them. Their lines are ragged, the charge has lost all of its impact, all of its shock, and yet still some of them hurtle on. At last, those few still riding approach the Allied defenses. The arquebusiers retreat and are replaced with men with yari, the long infantry spear. It is not even a contest. At the end of the day, the pride of the Takeda, the cavalry for which they were famous, the cavalry that made up the bulk of their military might, lays scattered on the field. Many of their best generals are dead, and the Oda-Tokugawa forces follow in hot pursuit. Takeda are practically broken. Just like that, one of the great clans falls.
Seriously, how badass Oda is, right? He just took out one of the most powerful clans of the Japan at the time, whose specialty was cavalry charge, and he's just like, fuck that, where are my guns at?
But in their final hours, they make an alliance with their old rivals, the Uesugi, and, wait for it, the warrior monks of Ishiyama Honganji.
Oh, no.
The Uesugi are probably the last truly great clan left in Sengoku Japan. Uesugi Kenshin, their leader, was often referred to as the god of war, and was thought to be the avatar, the living embodiment of Bishamonten, the Japanese Buddhist war deity. This could get ugly. When the Oda forces first meet the Uesugi...
This series has been so awesome. It feels like a God of War type of game, right? Every time the new challenger approaches, and it's even more powerful. Last time that, cavalry guy is like so badass and he's feared towards Japan, okay? Now it's literal God of War coming, okay?
Uesugi armies in battle, Kenshin smashes the Oda forces by releasing the floodgates on a river just as Nobunaga's men are trying to cross. This defeat halts Oda expansion. It puts them on the defensive. Then, in 1557, Kenshin is preparing a massive assault on Oda lands, perhaps hoping even to destroy them once and for all when he dies, without leaving an heir. Kinda anticlimactic, actually.
Seriously, God of War died by heart attack. What the fuck?
On hearing of his foe's death, Nobunaga is claimed to have shouted, "The empire is now mine."
Of course he did. He just heard the, literal guy who was considered the God of War, that badass guy, just died. Or was like, all the stars are aligned just for me. So far, all the things that has happened, yeah, I am the one who's destined to take Japan.
For the next 4 years, Nobunaga finally subdues the monks of Ishiyama Honganji and crushes the remnants of the Takeda clan. With a long series of victories behind them, Oda and Ieyasu decide it's time for some R&R. So they take a holiday and tour the Kansai. But Oda's holiday is cut short when he receives a letter from Hideyoshi asking for reinforcements in the siege he's maintaining at a castle to the north. Oda packs up his things and tells one of his generals, Akechi Mitsuhide, to start marching the army up to reinforce Hideyoshi. Oda will meet him there. He's gonna detour through Kyoto first to attend to some business on the way. When Oda gets to Kyoto, he decides to stop for the night with his page and a few retainers at the temple of Honno-ji. Akechi Mitsuhide, meanwhile, brings the army toward Kyoto to put on a procession through the town on their way to the castle that Hideyoshi is sieging. But then, as the army gets close to the temple, Akechi Mitsuhide shouts, "The enemy is in Honno-ji." With this, his pretty confused army rushes the temple. Oda's retainers are cut down as soldiers pour through the complex, until, at last, Nobunaga and his young page retreat to the inner room of the temple. There, they light the room on fire and commit seppuku. And with that, Oda Nobunaga's life comes to an end. What
the f just happened? I have to back down now. Wait a second.
But then, as the army gets close to the temple, Akechi Mitsuhide shouts, "The enemy is in Honno-ji." With this, his pretty confused army rushes the temple. Oda's retainers are cut down as soldiers pour through the complex, until, at last, Nobunaga and his young page retreat to the inner room of the temple. There, they light the room.
Alright, I guess I understand now. I don't know why I was confused because it suddenly, caught me off guard. What the fuck? One of Oda's guys basically betrayed him. I mean, they were there to basically siege, the whatever, fort or whatever. But when Oda's army arrived, basically the guy ordered his army to attack the temple where Oda was, just sitting there, I guess. And then Oda's own army killed Oda and his whatever few forces were in the temple. How are they not realizing, like, wait a minute, why are we attacking Oda? Why are they not realizing? Why are they just blindly following orders? Or, somehow the traitor basically, turned every soldiers against Oda. Is that what happened? And then Oda commits suicide like how they do in Japan at the time. Why didn't Oda just come out and say that that's the traitor, I'm Oda, why are you attacking me or something? I feel like, basically that traitor turned his whole army against Oda. I don't know how that happened. Oda was constantly winning. Why would any of his soldiers turn against him? And like, the extra credits, narrator just said here, that the army was confused. So they didn't know what was happening there. So why didn't they just realize, like, wait a minute, we are attacking Oda right now, not the enemy. These are our own soldiers that we are attacking, and we are attacking Oda. And why did Oda just kill himself in the end? Why didn't he just try to, talk to his own people? Like, you are attacking me or something. I mean, that's not really unheard of, right? Alexander the Great's, army was, I guess, going home and abandoning him at the time he gave this speech. Why Oda didn't do something similar like that? Gave a speech, something like that, like, you're attacking me by listening to that traitor or something. Why did he kill himself? All this just to die like that. That's just effed up, man. When I saw the death of Oda, I felt like, maybe people turn against him because of his ruthlessness in the past part, where he killed all those monks and everything. But that wasn't the case, and he wasn't even losing here. He was just in a winning streak. One of the traitors just gave the orders like that, and just his own people basically, screwed him over. That was effed up, man.
And commit seppuku. And with that, Oda Nobunaga's life comes to an end. Join us next time to find out what happens to the traitor Akechi Mitsuhide as we draw near to the end of the Sengoku Jidai.
But the way he's talked about in the first part, how Oda Nobunaga is going to be one of the important part of this civil war. I thought he's going to unify or something all the way to end, but no, he died in the middle. So what? Toyotomi Hideyoshi is the one who's going to take revenge or something, because he's the one who asked Oda to come for help sieging. He's going to realize that someone turned traitor or something. So maybe Toyotomi and Tokugawa, maybe they will take revenge. I don't know. It's so awesome this series, because I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know nothing about the history of this, so it's always fun who's gonna last in the end after the civil war. That's going to be surprising. Alright people, that was the death of Oda Nobunaga, Sengoku Jidai by extra credits. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the reaction. There's a link in the description. Check out the cards for different places, check out the end cards, and I'll see you next time.